Hey guys, Roth from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with episode 2. Doesn't that sound strange? Feels like we're starting over, but not really, because we're into season 2 with the host. Daniel, isn't it? Yeah, Daniel Sackheim directs this one. He'll go on to write quite a few episodes for the X-Files. 5 actually. 4, I'm sorry. No, 5 episodes. Yeah. 5 episodes spanning over seasons 1, 2, 5, and 6. And did not know this, but directed one of my favorite episodes later on in season 6, SR 819. That one has a lot to do with Skinner. But Daniel Sackheim's a busy guy. A lot of TV. Let's see, going all the way back to Law and Order, Bones. I'm just giving you just a tiny glimpse. The Walking Dead, 2 specific episodes. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you want to just see 2 specific episodes that this guy Daniel Sackheim, who gave us the host amongst 4 others in the X-Files, it was 3.7 and 4.3. So episode 7, season 3, When the Dead Come Knocking, and in season 4, Isolation. Not sure if you're a fan of those 2 specifically, but those were 2 that he did. Game of Thrones, The New Jack Ryan, and Lovecraft Country. So this guy, man, this guy works, man. This guy works. Guest. Well, he's no longer a guest anymore, right? Mitch Pileggi is Skinner, front and center in this episode. Great scene involving him and Mulder. We'll get into that. Darin Morgan as the Flukeman. Yes, we are talking the host. September 23rd, 1994, it drops. Chris Carter, thank you, Chris. He wrote episode 2. He should have wrote episode 1. Fell a little flat, but this one does not. This is a classic amongst the pantheon of X-File episodes. I generally try to watch these episodes a few times over the week in preparation to talk about them. But this week's been so busy, and with seeing Godzilla -1 Friday night and Saturday being very busy, actually saw this episode, revisited this episode early this morning in the darkness of my movie room down here. I don't know, I always do well watching something early in the morning with a hot cup of coffee, and this was a great episode to revisit. Toby Lindala, the main special effects person who was responsible for much of the work of the Flukeman. Known, I think I've mentioned his name before, but as a puppeteer on the Fog remake, Lake Placid, prosthetics for Extra 2, Books of Blood, Antlers, kind of a newer film, Godzilla 14. And since I met, and 55 episodes of the X-Files, since I mentioned Godzilla 14, and I've already mentioned Godzilla -1, that is an absolute mandatory movie you must watch. Now, by the time this episode drops, unfortunately, maybe out of most theaters. I know it's already cleared $27 million. Its budget was only 15, so it is raking it up, as they say. This movie was absolutely, it is 5 out of 5. It is a cinematic, as I say, classic masterpiece of just cinema. As a Godzilla film, I think it is. I need to see it a few more times, but I am almost willing to say it is as good as the original 54 classic. As a film, you always got to leave the 54 alone in its own spot, but that's how good it was. Gotta support Toho. This movie puts to shame anything that we have done in this country with Godzilla in terms of the legendary what they have done with the MonsterVerse and all that junk. I mean, they're fun spectacles, I guess, but this is a meaty film as well. With Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, I haven't seen that. Was part of the Graveyard Shift podcast. We talked about that. That link is down below. As well, if you want to listen to our thoughts on Eli Roth's Thanksgiving gift. The only other thing is, I guess, is with this, running through the Blu-ray box set that I picked up off the UK site, Amazon UK. This particular episode has a nice little intro with both Spotnitz and Chris Carter, which is nice. You don't get that every single episode, but occasionally you do. But this is such a classic episode. The host. So basically, in short, you're I would imagine most of you are familiar, unless you're new to the X-Files. The host is a standalone monster of the week episode. Interesting, with seeing Godzilla -1 with Oppenheimer, really just doing an incredible job. In fact, I think the 4K Blu-rays are out of print, and they're trying to rush a second printing, I think, for the holiday season. It's interesting looking at another shortened version of a film dealing with exposure, in this case Chernobyl, and the effect of radiation, atomic radiation. Of course, in the other films, this is a consequence of war. In this case, it's just probably more than anything mismanagement of a nuclear facility that melts down, and probably, I'm sure, could have been avoided. I don't know if a disaster like that is a reason to be against nuclear energy, but when one of those things goes down, the ramifications, consequences are really, they're eternal. I mean, Fukushima is the Fukushima plant in Japan a few years back. Was as a tsunami hit, that ultimately melted down, and took about a year for that radiation to creep along the ocean floor via the currents and reach the Pacific coast of the United States. Thankfully, the radiation was not harmful at that point, but what damage did it wreak across the ocean floor as it just sort of creeped along? What sort of genetic mutations? It's funny, I think it's Mulder makes the point in this episode that two species, I think he says 2 or 3 species of animals disappears every day off this planet. How many more are coming into existence? Of course, the Flukeman is the center of attraction in this episode, and as a result of the Chernobyl accident, a tanker which is carrying waste from Chernobyl happens to be the holder of this creature that is just like, if you go to the comics, it's sort of a guy that gets trapped in a tanker truck and gets exposed in just a fluke, and takes on and becomes this Flukeman creature. Now, that's not explained in the episode, but in the in the Wikipedia description of the comics that were done, entitled Host, I think. So there's a little tiny backdrop given after the fact, which is interesting. In fact, those comics even go on to say that the host will, the one apparently in the episode that we're left seeing at the end, will end up at Martha's Vineyard and wreak havoc there for a while, which is kind of interesting. But anyways, in terms of this episode, so this thing ends up... we're in the initial scene in the Russian tanker. One of the lower-ranking guys is asked to clean out their sewage tank. Of course, he gets dragged into the water. Ultimately, his body will get flushed out of the tank along with the host, and they will end up at a New Jersey treatment center where the host will begin to run amok and start just creating havoc. It'll attack one guy in the sewer systems who will get this incredibly gnarly bite on his back. But also going on here is Mulder again is still on these stakeouts. The sunflower seeds are piling up, and he gets taken off of this, which you think he would have been glad. But when he finds himself down in a sewer system with rubber boots on, it smells up to here, and so he ends up having a word with Skinner, which is one of the great moments of the episode, when he demands an audience with Skinner, and Skinner tries to rebuff him, and Mulder's not having it, and finally Skinner's like, come on in, and of course he's hosting a meeting, which Mulder is on. This will happen a few times in X-Files lore. Once it happens with Scully, of course, she'll end up going in there, and the cigarette smoking man will be in there. And so, that Skinner puts Mulder on the spot in an awkward way and has him explain before everyone why he shouldn't be doing this case. And he makes sort of an Eichhoff, argument, and then ends up walking out. And he's about to quit. Mulder's about to quit the X-Files. The X-Files have been done. The two have been separated. And it's Scully who ultimately tries to reel him back in and offers the hope, well, there is a dead body. And so let's just look at that. And so she finds some way of doing the autopsy on the body in question. She will find a fluke worm in there, and that just begins the process, domino effect, of putting pieces together and realizing that perhaps maybe this is an X-File of sorts, even though they don't classify them anymore as X-Files. But there is a mysterious X will come into the equation, and he will make a phone call to Mulder a couple times in this episode and just try to motivate him with basically closing out this case as well as he can, because the X-Files must be open. They must be open. And so this is the beginning domino of getting those X-Files opened up again. So you have X in the equation now, who kind of takes over for Deep Throat. And you've got this really bizarre case, and which ultimately goes to the point of the host is being transported. It's been secure. It's going to undergo psychiatric evaluation, which I don't know how you do that with a creature per se. But the host will break loose of its restraints, create havoc in the sort of ambulance transport vehicle, and conveniently, for writing's sake, this will end up on the side of the road near a lake camp. It'll secure itself in one of the outhouse deals, portable outhouse deals, in which case the next morning a truck comes by to pull out all the sewage, and the host is being transported yet back to the New Jersey facility, which is funny. The camp where that scene happens is apparently a real camp in New Jersey, which is interesting. Ultimately, Mulder gets there. The main guy who's been helping him at the facility, the sewage facility, is attacked. Mulder is able then to ultimately kill this thing, apparently kill it. And yet we find out there is another one that is quickly evolving, grown and evolving. It's funny. It made me think about, it sort of made me think about Chud. If you remember Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, how do I remember that? I have no idea how I remember that. At heyday of 80s B movies. Great stuff. So the host is absolute classic, man. The writing is phenomenal. This is a huge step up from episode 1, which I just felt like was a little flat to start the year off. I really think, I don't know what they should have started off with. If you're going to start off with mythology, Carter should have been the writer. He should have wrote the first episode. But this is a huge step up. This really has that big theatrical presentation, or at least much more so than the first one, I think. Or at least episode 1, right? And the X-Files seemingly seem to be coming back. In fact, there is Skinner agrees at the end that, in fact, this should have been an X-File, and Mulder, not to be topped, reminds Skinner that the one guy who dies in this episode might have been saved had it been an X-File, and Skinner agrees. And so this alliance of sorts is building between the two. And I think in the end, the strings are being pulled in terms of Skinner, and who, as he says in this episode, he answers. Everyone has to answer to someone, right? Even Skinner. But ultimately, in the end, Skinner does favor Mulder and the X-Files and Scully. And he is more than not an ally to the two. And so the host is an absolute classic of early X-Files, Monster of the Week lore. Just a brilliant episode. And so here we go, man. We are, I don't know where my controller is. I was going to look out ahead and see what's next, but whatever it is. No, I probably can't see from here. Anyways, next episode next week. Appreciate you hanging on, and it is Advent today, first day of Advent Sunday, and so all my hopes and prayers and wishes to this holiday season as December officially really gets rolling on. An early Merry Christmas, although yesterday was not easy for me as a Georgia Bulldog fan, and to find out today that number 8 Alabama yanked number 1 Georgia out of the playoff contention has me really scratching my head. But that's what happens when you lose. So really no one to blame in the end except for the Georgia Bulldogs for coming up short in that game. It does beg a lot of questions. But yeah, what are you gonna do? And yeah, I got the Bills, but they're having a record season. So anyways, it is December, and it is a great time of the year. And if you haven't seen it, gotta see Godzilla -1 in the theater. I'm telling you, it is. I think it's one of the best films of the year, and it's great. Go see it. If you haven't seen Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, check that out too. We don't get that every day. And they did announce a part 2 will be coming in 2025, I think. So that's pretty awesome. X-Files, man. What'd you think of the host? Drop down, tell me, let me know. Have a great day. Enjoy your week as it unfolds. I hope it's a good one. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.